Facebook Live, Let's Save Your Marriage group. Here we are. Tell me if you can hear me. Let's see where the comments are. Let's get to the place where I can see the comments. Facebook Live, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're here live, put in hashtag live. Give me a little wave. Tell me that you're here. Say hello. If you're here on the replay, just put in the replay. Looks like I got one person watching right now. So welcome to you. Welcome to everybody who's here watching. If you're here live, just put in there a little wave or a comment. Say hello. Good, good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for commenting. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Basia. I hope that's right. Ramona. Hi, Sarah. So I'm just gonna wait just a minute or two, let a couple more people hop on here, and we're gonna be talking about communication, specifically clearing the path to crystal clear communication. Hi, Samantha. Good to see you. So we're going to be talking about clearing the path to crystal clear communication. We want to get to that communication that's just so clear you know what's up. You know exactly what you're sharing with the other person, and what's being shared is just crystal clear. So we're going to talk about what's in the way. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I'm going to ask you a question. What is communication? Just put in the comments, what does communication mean to you? When you hear the word communication, what does communication mean to you? Just put that in the comments. Just going to wait a moment for some people to reply. So what is communication to you? What does that mean? A lot of different sharing, yes. Definitely sharing. Thank you for replying. That is a great answer. Sharing for sure. Effective listening, definitely. Effective listening is a big part of it. A future growing in a positive direction. Love it. Thank you. So Webster's dictionary says communication is the successful sharing or conveying of ideas and feelings. So when we share our ideas and feelings with one another, talking to one another is a way that we share our ideas and feelings. Yes, Ryan, that's great. Thank you. So when we talk to each other, it's a way that we're sharing our ideas and feelings. So what gets in the way of clear communication, that crystal clear communication? What's in the way of being able to have that clear connection? And I like the analogy of a cell phone. And when cell phones first came out, and even there's still people who do it now, but you have people be talking on the cell phone, the connection's bad, and what do? They say, hey, can you hear me? They start to get really loud. Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, our past hurts. That is one of the things that gets in the way, that it gets in the way of that communication to be clear. Our past hurts, our past experiences where we weren't heard, or when we shared something and it wasn't received in the way that we shared it. So that gets in line. That line gets clouded, and we're on the phone and we're like, hey, 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 and we keep getting louder and louder and louder, and the connection's broken, but we just keep yelling louder and louder, trying to get the other person to hear us. Have you ever seen this or done this yourself? And you're like, the connection's broken, and you just start yelling into the phone like, the connection's broken, so it doesn't matter how loud you yell, it's not gonna, the message isn't gonna go through. So I like that analogy because that can be the way that we start to communicate in our relationships. We just say the same things louder or with more, try to say the same thing with more energy, but the connection's broken. So if the connection's broken, then it's really hard to share that message. So, and there's so many things that can be in the way of crystal clear communication. There's so many things, so many things. But tonight we're going to focus on two of the main things that get in the way of crystal clear communication. Okay, number one is emotion, and number two is thoughts. So if the successful conveying and sharing of ideas and feelings is what communication is, then the hang up, what's in the way most often, has to do with our emotions and our thoughts. So the first thing I'm going to say is we start to build an emotional armor from a really young age. We share something with someone and it's not heard. We're feeling something and we're trying to express it. You know, even before we have the use of language, we're feeling something and we're trying to express it as a child and it's not heard. Then we start to build this armor, and these thoughts and these feelings, we start to go, oh, well, why share it? It's not going to be heard. So we start to build our armor. You know, we start to put on our leg armor, our foot armor. We start to build this stuff. Here's another thing about armor, that actually armor is very difficult to put on and take off yourself. You need someone to help you to put on armor. Same thing with emotional armor. We get that from the response from the outside world. So emotional armor is a big factor. And you think about a suit of armor. When you're wearing a suit of armor, what does that look like? What does somebody look like that's wearing a suit of armor? How mobile are they? Let's say 0 out of 10. How mobile is somebody that has a suit of armor on? How fast can they move around? 10 is they can run this top speed like 13, 15 miles an hour, something like that. If you have a suit of armor on, how fast can you run? Not very fast. And how about, yeah, it's a struggle, right, Sarah? It's a struggle if you got this armor, this big suit of armor on. Yeah, you're protected for sure. You're protected from any kind of attack or any kind of hurt. But let me ask you this now, with that helmet on, have you ever seen the helmets that people put on with armor and you got this one little slit to see out of? It's about this big. How much can you see out of that? How much does that restrict your view to be able to, yeah, you can't focus or breathe thinking about that. Yeah, it's constricting to our perception to be able to see what's really happening outside of our view. The weight of that armor is cumbersome. We're not able to really go anywhere in life quickly because we're, in our relationship, in our marriage, we can't go anywhere with that armor on because we're weighted down so heavy. The other person, how well can you really see who is under a suit of armor? Somebody that has a full suit of armor, could you tell who they were? Could you tell what nationality they were? Could you tell if they were a man or a woman? So how well can you know who somebody is, or who we are, because we start to believe over time that we are this armor. And here's the thing about that. It took other people to help us put that armor on. The people around us in school, our parents, our past relationships. No, you can't see who they are, Ryan. You're right. You cannot see who they are. So it took the people around us growing up, parents, family, friends, people in school, all these people that society has helped us to put on this suit of armor. And now here we are in our marriages having challenges because we're beer goggles. Yeah, that's a good example of it too. Yeah, try to walk with beer goggles on, and that's kind of what we're all doing going through life, walking around with this armor. So it's taken people to help us put this armor on, unintentionally, unconsciously. So now we're in a place and we have all this armor on, and we're in a marriage, and we're banging our suits of armor together, or maybe we got our swords out, depending on where you're at. Sometimes we're swinging those heavy swords and beating each other up, and it happens. It's Most marriages have that from time to time. I know mine has. So the thing about it is, so we need help to get this armor off, so we can really get to the bottom of underneath of this to see who we really are, so we can share it. Because to be able to share who we are with somebody else, first we have to get underneath of all that protection, those protective layers. So one of the things that this language that we start to build, that's kind of a defensive and offensive language that comes from wearing this emotional suit of armor, and what we get from that is we get to that kind of communication leads to confusion, disconnection. It leads to resentments, and we're not able to be completely honest with the people around us because we have this suit of armor on. And as much as we try, we've been wearing it for so long, it makes it difficult. And that's what, if you know this is something that you need help with, getting a suit of armor off, that's something that I would love to work with you on. And I work with individuals and couples, and if this is something that you need help taking this suit of armor off, I would love to talk to you about what that would look like. But then there's the second part of this, and we're going to talk about the mental. Then we have the mental clogging. So not only do we have a suit of armor, but then we have the emotional armor. So we're not really sharing how we really feel, and we're defending our real feelings, not really sharing that. And the other challenge is we have this mental clog. It's like having a clogged pipe in your brain. It's like all you have is you've got that like one big clump of hair clogged up, and that's all you can see. And you're not a plumber, but you're trying to get this completely clogged pipe, this clogged mental pipe. You're in there beating on it, trying to beat on it to get that vision out of there, the picture that you have in your mind. And not only that, but you're trying to share this mental clog with your partner, but they have a different clog going on in theirs, and they're trying to share that with you. A lot of different analogies going here at one time, but we get stuck on a thought of how things should be, and this is what really is it. Can you relate to this, where you get stuck? You get stuck on, this is the way it needs to be. This is how many people here get stuck on a thought. This is how it needs to be, and until it's like this, I'm not gonna budge. Like we become the clog ourselves, that mental clogging. How many people can relate to this? If you can relate to this, put it in the comments. Me. Might be fully suited in armor and clog. Yeah, we all have some form of this armor and some form of this clog. We're stuck. Let me ask you this: if you had a leak in your house, or you had a drain plug and your drain was clogged and you couldn't get it unclogged, what would you do? And you're running water and the water's running all over your house, what are you going to do? Sarah says, I get stuck on, is this how it's going to be instead? I'm trying to get more clarity on what that means, Sarah. Help me understand. And that's something that we don't do in our relationships, because When we have that emotional armor on, we're ready for battle. And anything that comes up, sometimes we can be, yeah, snake it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Get the snake out and unclog that stuff. And here's the thing: we haven't been taught how to do this. We haven't been taught how to get in there and get those thoughts and those images that we have stuck in our minds, and this is the way it needs to be. We haven't been taught how to get those things unstuck. And whenever we're going through that mentally clogged communication, that looks like arguments. It looks like feeling unsafe. Oh, besides, you're more with a sword. You're going in for the attack. So the mentally clogged communication also leads to feeling unheard, and it also shows up a lot with like judgment. So we're like, what this image that I have is not the image that you have. So that means you're different than me, and that means because you're different than me, then I'm not safe with you. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's hard to see the positive because sometimes we've had a lot of experiences in our life that have led us to believe that we're not ever going to have those positives. That can happen at times. And what happens with that communication, we get this image stuck in our mind, and our partner's trying to tell them about an image they have stuck in their mind, and because the image they're sharing with us is not what we are experiencing, and it's not always just an image, but it's also like a feeling, an image and a feeling. It's like an experience that we're having that we're trying to relate to this other person, and without help and training, it makes it really hard. And the other person's doing the same. They're trying to relay their experience to us, and to us it's like evident all of what is happening for us. So we're like, why do I even need to explain it to you, right? I mean, because we all see what's happening for us, and our partner is seeing something totally different, and to them what they're experiencing is very vivid and clear for them. So sometimes it's hard to communicate that when we think, well, you should just know what I'm experiencing because it's very evident to me that you're not doing this, 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 and this. And it's the same on both sides, right? We're both going through the same thing in our marriage, where one person is seeing one thing and feeling one thing, the other person is feeling and seeing something totally different, and then you're both trying to be like, no, see my picture and experience my experience, right? So this is kind of where those mental clogs come in. So what do we need? Here's the question: is what do we need to be able to learn to start getting this emotional armor off? What do we need to be able to start getting these images unclogged out of our minds and being able to start to open up that mental space so we can start to accept something a little different, to let it flow free, you know what I mean? So we don't have all this, all these emotions dammed up and all these thoughts dammed up, and we're just like, it feels like we're going mad, right? It's like our partner doesn't get it, they don't understand, and no matter what we try to do, they don't understand us. So what can we do to get this emotional armor off so we can start to share authentically and get this mental clog loose so we can start to let the thoughts flow free so they're not getting backed up? So what do we do? What do we do? So one thing is we need support. If we don't have a support system, then it's really hard to have the support we need to be able to create this experience where we can learn how to start taking that off and get the thoughts to flow free. The second, we need accountability, because when we're on our own or with our partner, there's no accountability there, and it's real easy to fall back into that. Well, I know what it feels like to have this armor on, so why don't I just keep wearing it? I know what it's like to have a mental clog, so why don't I just leave it clogged up and just turn the water on and let the house flood and say, F it, right? It's like, because we know how to do that, but that's not going to lead to the outcome that we want. That's not going to lead to what you want. You want connection, you want intimacy, you want to be able to communicate, and the only way we can do that is we have to find the support. We have to find the way to have that accountability, and we got to have the understanding. And that's part of what you're doing now, is you're here getting a better understanding of what's going on, so you can start to change that. Now, I've had numerous people in the past year that have come to me, and we've talked about, I have a program that helps people get through these things, and I've had numerous people come to me and talk to me, about, hey, what's up with the program, and I talk to them about the 3 pillars of the program. Number 1 is reconnecting you to emotional intimacy and physical intimacy in your marriage. And the second is being able to give you the map to be able to understand yourself and your partner. This is part of what we're talking about right now. And the third pillar of the program is being able to find that path, that right on that path to crystal clear communication, because that's really important. And those are the 3 pillars of the program. But what happened is, I talked to these people, numerous people have come to me, and they haven't signed up for the program. And, a few months later, 2 particular people, they messaged me back and said, my wife filed for divorce, my husband filed for divorce, and, now we're divorcing. And unfortunately, but that's what happens sometimes, we try to do this stuff ourselves. We're not plumbers. We don't know how to take this suit of armor off, and we need support to be able to do that. And that's what I'm here for. If you know that you need that, reach out. I'd love to talk to you about it. And also, like, if you had a leak in your house and your house was starting to flood because you got this blockage in your tub and you got the water running and you got a leak over here, what would you do? How quickly would you get a hold of your landlord or go ahead and call a plumber to fix it and say, do what you got to do, we got to get this fixed? Yeah, if somebody's emotionally clogged, yes, for sure. Yeah, somebody that's emotionally clogged, it does spill into other relationships in our lives, for sure. Yeah. And the marriage relationship, Sarah says, if somebody's emotionally clogged, wouldn't that spill into other relationships in their lives? Yes. And why is a marriage relationship different? And excuse me, I wouldn't say that it is definitely different, because it's a different level of intimacy. It's somebody that you see every day, and it's somebody that is important to you. But what I would say is, it's most important because the relationship that we have with our significant other, with our partner, with our spouse, is the basis for all other relationships that we have. Our ability to connect and communicate there is going to be at the level we're able to connect and communicate with others, is my belief. But so how quickly would you, if your house was flooded, how quickly would you call a plumber? Like, you're going to say, like, yesterday, like, we're calling right now, we got to call the plumber, the house is flooded. But in our marriage and our relationships, when we face these problems, we get these mental clogs, and we're facing this challenge, we haven't been shown from the people in our past. The people in our past called the plumber. They didn't call the person to come in and help them, to work on their marriage and learn how to communicate and learn how to connect emotionally to that intimacy that we're looking for, and that's normal, because we haven't been shown that from our past. My parents, and if our parents didn't teach us this stuff, how likely is it that we're going to know it? 0 to 10. I didn't learn these things from my parents, because my parents got divorced very young. My mother was married 4 times, and my dad's been married twice, and that's okay. And I love them both dearly, and that's okay. I didn't get that learning from them. I had to find somebody who had that information to be able to share with me and spend a lot of time and energy, because I had a lot of problems in my marriage. I was like, why do things keep getting screwed up? And I made a decision to do whatever I needed to do to figure it out, and I still do today. I still do today, because this is an ongoing process. And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to sign off. I'm going a little long here, but this is something that I see too, is people. This is not one of the number one things that I see is people get, and I've done this throughout my life, is get a little bit of information and then say, all right, I got it now, I'm good. You know, you read that one book and you got this little bit of info and you're like, oh, finally I got the information I need, and it's fixed forever. And then guess what happens? It's fixed for a little bit, but then it all shows right back up again. So one of the number one things that is important that I found is commitment to continue, and to have that accountability to continue to keep learning and keep practicing and keep implementing the strategies. Ryan says he's admittedly stubborn. Oh, join the club. I'm stubborn too. Yeah, and most people, we try to fix it we try to fix it ourselves, and sometimes it, we end up costing ourselves a lot more when we try to fix it ourselves, and that's a normal thing. I've done that quite a few times in my life with certain things. I remember whenever I tried to put boat lights on my boat trailer. We have a boat that we take out to the river and do tubing and stuff with the kids, but I put like 6 sets of lights on that boat. And I spent like $400 on lights, and I kept trying to put them up on these like little plastic PVC things so they wouldn't get in the water, and I ended up spending like 10 times the amount of money that I would have if I just would have paid somebody $100. Maybe not 10 times, but anyway, I really appreciate you watching. I hope this has been helpful. The main takeaway to this is, we need support, we need accountability, and we need understanding to be able to get through these blocks, to take off the emotional armor, to get to that intimacy, and to get to that crystal clear communication pathway. So, if you know that's something you need, if you know that's something you want to talk about, I would love to talk to you about it. I really appreciate you watching. I hope this was really helpful to give you some clarity of where you're at. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody who showed up. Julie, thank you so much. Everybody who showed up and listened, I appreciate it. And thanks for engaging and commenting. I hope you got a lot out of this. And I'll talk to you again soon. Have a great night.